Hello and welcome, Rangers. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And we've got another Dino Thunder episode. Oh man, that tune is so catchy. And man, was this episode actually pretty good. The adventure continues with Kira having been captured up until she wasn't, wherein she ends up in Mesagog's lair. And while in his lair, she ends up confronting and squabbling and having a brief skirmish with some of Mesagog's goons, including the school principal, whom she almost recognizes, which is pretty funny. But we also get treated to one of the most creepy scenes in this franchise's history, when Mesagog seems to move from shadow to shadow, almost from behind her to in front of her. Like, she turns away from him to walk away, and he's suddenly in front of her. It's not a overt demonstration. It's very, very under the surface. It's very subtle. And it's kind of very different from what you might see today. And it's a lot better than an overt display of power here. This shows, in a very understated way, he is way more powerful and fast than she is. And he's battling on a level that she's not. Arguably, Mesagog's one of the most powerful villains to ever grace the franchise, and one of the greatest. So, kudos to the Power Ranger staff at the time when they made this. Meanwhile, Tommy ended up teaming up with the boys to go rescue Kira, explained as much as he could under the circumstances. They take off. And it is so funny how Connor keeps trying to browbeat Tommy. It's just so embarrassing for him. I honestly feel a little embarrassed for him. He's just not... He's utterly out of his element.
Secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah. He honestly has no idea who Tommy is. But then they have a skirmish after Kira's returned to them with the phrase, "and stay out," following after her. But in all seriousness, the fight's pretty good. Then we get the Biozords, I think it is, who end up ravaging downtown. They have to go stop them, which they then do. And they morph for the first time in a really good display of morphing. I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for what happens here. And they tame their Zords, and they defeat the bad guy. And then they get their communicators from Tommy, who clearly hasn't... Well, he's infringed on Billy's patent, so he is clearly a supervillain. Now, I mean, come on. Billy owns the patent to those things. And what is more is that Tommy hints at the fact that he's dealt with this sort of thing before. They kind of almost catch on, but then they forget about it, showing the the attention span of a TikTok fan. And Tommy just confesses that he has faith in them. Now, in this episode, we also learned that Tommy had his hand in making the putties of this season. But the reason he helped out seems to have been that he was trying to create, I think, something akin to putties for Rangers. Basically, the Rangers would have their own set of putties to dispense with the putties. And what this would mean for the Rangers is that they don't have to worry or waste energy on the lower tier villains. But the thing is, it didn't turn out that way, and Mesagog made some improvements, apparently, which Tommy doesn't really approve of. That said, Mesagog also recruited his own flunkies. Now, some like Linkara have commented that Tommy must have been so desperate to return to being a Power Ranger or something that he wasn't paying attention to the guy he was working for, because clearly these are tools for supervillainy. But on the other hand, Tommy also developed around that time the Power Ranger powers. So clearly, I don't think it's that his eye was off the target, so much as he was thinking on it in a different way. I think he was on the ball. He was just simply he was thinking, okay, they'll have their own grunts, so to speak, to help out, while the Rangers could focus on what's important, such as rescuing the damsel. This way, the damsel's life is not as at risk. I'm using that as an example. But he ended up coming up with these Ranger powers, creating morphers, and creating Zords for them. Clearly, he was focused on Power Rangers. He didn't count on Anton Mercer going insane, which, fair enough. We have to bear in mind that throughout this season, it's revealed that Tommy thought that Anton Mercer wasn't a bad guy, just an eccentric billionaire who was willing to fund his research into Power Ranger research. And we got to bear in mind, it is very expensive stuff. The trouble is that Rangerhood and superheroics aren't cheap. But Tommy obviously miscalculated. Happens. Any thoughts on this episode?
It was actually really good. And we get a different vibe of the series than of other series, because it's not Lightspeed Rescue, it's not Lost Galaxy, it's not Zeo, it is Dino Thunder.
It's a legacy season.
Yeah.
And I think that it does the legacy thing of the hero returning after a long retirement a lot better than a lot of other depictions, such as Dark Knight Returns or Kingdom Come and whatnot. I think this one's a lot better. And maybe that's just me. I just think that this pays better homage to the character and his morals and ideals than a lot of other storylines like this. That said, it's still its own thing. So let's rate this episode.
I will say a 3.
I'm going to say probably a 2.5.
It's a really good episode.
Yeah, it's above average. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Tommy high jump kicking a T-Rex. And remember, Rangers, may the power protect you.